Good morning, everyone. Before we start, let me maybe first express the hope that you, your loved ones, your family, your friends are all in good health. Welcome to our press conference, which will focus on vaccination, on the preparation of vaccination strategies, and on the deployment of vaccines. I'm very happy to have with us Vice President Skinas and Commissioner Kyriakides. We will start with the press conference first, and then, as you may have seen, we will have a technical briefing. The technical briefing will be used to discuss more technical questions you may have on the topics of vaccination, deployment of vaccines, whilst we will focus on the press conference, which starts now, on more political questions. You have received press material, the press release, fact sheet, and the communication is also available now. But without further ado, I would like to first give the floor to Vice President Skinas.
Thank you. Good morning. We are living turbulent times. The health situation across Europe is extremely uncertain and delicate. The impact of the pandemic on the economy and society are unprecedented. While the evolution of the pandemic is getting back to March levels, our state of preparedness is not. Contrary to what happened in the first wave, we now have a framework for coordination in place. And the communication that we're presenting today with Commissioner Kyriakides on preparedness for COVID-19 vaccines or vaccination deployment is a milestone in this process. But at the same time, today's initiative, it's just one piece at the overall COVID European response puzzle. And before we come to the proposal of today, allow me to remind and highlight that in the last months, we have been active on all fronts. The Commission has pulled out all the stops to fight the pandemic and its economic fallout. An unprecedented recovery fund of historic proportions is now on the table. More than 800 specific measures have been adopted, including 373 state aid decisions giving European companies a lifeline, and many specific measures have been taken to preserve our internal market, transport services, and organize our internal and external borders, to mention just a few. What began with isolated cases quickly turned into an emergency that affected every country, region, and person. And since the beginning of the year, too many lives have been lost in the EU because of the pandemic, and many more have lost their lives in other parts of the world. And yet, hundreds of thousands of lives have been saved. And if the European Union, our institutions, and our member states had not acted swiftly and decisively to protect EU lives and livelihoods, the tragedy in Europe would have been much greater. Frontline workers have performed their duties heroically. Citizens have taken great sacrifices affecting their fundamental freedoms, and unprecedented measures have been taken to stem the spread of the virus. Europe has become the beating heart of world solidarity. Hospitals have welcomed and treated patients from across borders. Institutions and member states have teamed up to purchase medical equipment. Mobile health teams have been dispatched to answer the most urgent needs. More than 600,000 stranded EU citizens have been repatriated from beyond the borders of the EU, and public and private investment at European and national levels have been mobilized to find a vaccine for everyone across the world. The crisis has shown European solidarity at its best. In the area of public health, the EU achieved what no member state could have done alone. Guidelines on testing methodologies and free movement of healthcare professionals, medical device and protective equipment, along with voluntary contact tracing apps, guaranteed the best practices were shared and scaled up. A new self-standing program of EU for health for all is in the making. And the Commission and Member States are conducting intensive negotiations with several vaccine developers to build a diversified portfolio of vaccines, both for the EU citizens and beyond, and fair prices. The EU has safeguarded the integrity of our single market. As long queues of trucks started to form at border crossings inside the EU, the Commission created the green lanes to ensure that essential goods could be transported swiftly across borders and acted against disproportionate internal restrictions that were creating new shortages. And we have provided as much information as possible to our citizens. We have developed a new online tool, Reopen EU, that brings together information on travel, transportation, and tourism restrictions across all member states. And Reopen EU has been used by tens of millions of people in Europe and beyond. Finally, the EU has also led the global response to the crisis, setting up a new collaborative framework to accelerate the development and deployment of vaccines, treatments, and tests across the world, with nearly 16 billion euros raised. And in our external action against the virus, we have always acted as Team Europe. This means the European Commission, the EU financial institutions, and our member states have joined forces to achieve a shared set of goals. Few hours before the start of the European Council, we feel the need to remind all this remarkable strand of work that has been undertaken at EU level for months. And we do this because I find it personally often very sad that this remarkable work is not always recognized as one of the EU successes during these past months. But we are continuing this work, and today's proposal is yet another step in this overall European policy response. You remember that this fits into the strategy that the Commissioner and I presented here in June for a vaccine strategy. Then, at the time, the focus was, of course, on reaching contracts with industry to secure the production of vaccines once available. And we have made a lot of progress since then, since by now we have agreements and contracts for nearly 1 billion doses. But now, today, the proposal, the initiative, is on vaccine deployment, on vaccination rather than vaccines. Because with this proposal, we identify actions to ensure that vaccines are deployed effectively in the EU, building on a number of key parameters that Stella will present you in a second. We want a vaccine quickly, yes, but we want a vaccine that is safe. So safety is our top priority, and in the initiative, we propose to monitor the performance of vaccination through rules and to ensure clear and timely information to the public. We want also a vaccine that is affordable and accessible. And we stand by the principle of vaccines free of charge and of physical proximity to the population to ensure that they reach every person in the EU. And we repeat our commitment for vaccines to become a public good by recalling our international efforts. Prioritization is also important. We propose a common approach to decide who is to be vaccinated first. This is also important in terms of fairness for our citizens across the EU. And finally, no vaccine, once available, will make sense unless we're able to ensure effective delivery across the geography of the European Union. We will need dedicated infrastructures, trained staff, necessary equipment, and logistics. So all this is our latest contribution of this very complex and fully developing puzzle of EU response to the pandemic. I'm sure that we'll have many other opportunities to discuss it. And now I'll give the floor to Commissioner Kyriakides to present you in more detail the specific and concrete actions and initiatives foreseen in this strategy. Thank you.